Hello, Saints. Welcome. Habari yako to everyone.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah, Sarah and I want to come on. We have some people who ask questions through our website about relocating to Kenya, and Sarah's going to give us 10 questions about relocating to Kenya for individuals, for families considering the move. So we'll just go ahead and get started with question number one. Sarah will give it to us, and we'll try to answer these questions as best as possible. We appreciate all of you asking questions so that we can address the issues that are relevant to you. So, Sarah, what's the first question we were asked?
What are the visa and the residency requirements for relocating to Kenya long term?
Okay. Well, Kenya offers several options. One is a visitor visa, which is a 90-day e-visa, which can be extended one time once you arrive. I applied for the same visa when I came back in November, but what I applied for was the 5-year ETA. But the primary one is the 90-day visa, where you can stay up to 90 days or 3 months in Kenya, and then you can extend it for up to 2 months, from what I understand. Mine was extended for up to 2 months. So I ended up staying in Kenya for a little over 5 months before I left and went back to the U.S. And in between the time of applying for that, I had also applied for the Class K visa, which I'll also mention. That is the second option you have. So with the visitors ETA, you have a 90-day ETA, or you can apply for the 5-year ETA, which allows you to enter and exit the country anytime within a 5-year period. Those are the two options for the ETA. The second option available to you is called the Class K visa. And that is for foreign retirees with a stable income from abroad. That could be pensions and investments or a company outside of the U.S. You have to have at least 24,000 USD of assured income from out of the country. Another option for you is called a Class D permit for those who are employed by a Kenyan company or organization. And the next option for you for long-term stays is called an investor permit, called a Class G permit. That is for entrepreneurs investing at least 100,000 USD into Kenya. So those are the options that we have for the short-term and long-term stays. The e-visa, 90-day, or the 5-year e-visa. Class K permit, which is for ordinary residents. The Class D permit, and then the investor's permit. So one is called a Class K, a Class D, or a Class G permit, which will allow you to stay long-term in Kenya. Now, the residency permits that I just mentioned to you are processed by the Kenya Department of Immigration. You best to have a local legal consultant or a relocation service that can help you to streamline the process. I have a few links on our Affordable African Horizons website. Have a couple of links to a couple of immigration attorneys. Also have a link to the Kenya website, which shows you how to apply online and get the process started for any of these permits, as well as you can apply from the Kenya website for the ETAs, which usually takes less than 3 days to get approved for that. So everything is available online. So it's a very simple process to get started. You'll see the costs listed on the various websites that will inform you what the process looks like to get started. Like I said, the ETA takes about 3 days. The Class K permit that I applied for takes about 3 to 4 months. Mine took a little over 4 months, or right at 4 months. I haven't applied for the Class G or the other one for the investors, but I'm sure you'll find that information on the website as well. All right. What's the next question that people were asking about, Sarah?
Yeah, the other question that I know people would really want to know is what is the cost of living in different cities? Like Nairobi, Nakuru, Mombasa, Eldoret, Kisumu.
Okay, yeah. A lot of people ask about the cost of living, and it varies based on which city you're in. Now, to answer the question somewhat, Nairobi is the capital city of Kenya, And it has a lot of high-end apartments, which can range anywhere from 80,000 Kenyan shillings to up to 250,000 Kenyan shillings a month. And they also have some middle and low and middle class areas, which will run you about 40,000 shillings or up to 70,000 shillings. And I'll try to put the translation for the currency on the screen as we edit this video. Now, if you want to go to a mid-sized city, the prices that I just gave you is for Nairobi. Now, there are also lesser amount of apartments, but that's about right for a reasonable place to live. We stayed in the Raka area of Nairobi, and we paid $48,000 a month. So that's a good range to look for if you are a low-income site, between 40,000 and 70,000 shillings. If you're looking for the high-end areas like Lavington, Kilisha, Kilimani, Westlands, Parklands, you go anywhere from 80,000 and up. Okay? Now, if you're looking at a city like Nakuru or Kisumu, which is more affordable, you can find a 2 to 3 bedroom home there between 20,000 and 50,000 a month. So you see, it's almost half the cost of living in Nairobi for a comparable size apartment. The utilities will range anywhere from between 5,000 Kenyan shillings to 10,000 Kenyan shillings a month. And again, I'll try to do the translations on the screen for the currency for USD. Groceries for a family of 4, let's use that as an example. It's going to cost you about 25,000 to 40,000 shillings a month for a family of 4. So overall, urban life is more expensive than smaller towns, and rural areas are significantly cheaper. What's our third question that we have for today, Sarah?
How safe is Kenya for foreigners? And what areas are considered most secure?
Okay, how safe is Kenya for foreigners and what areas are considered most secure? So Kenya is generally safe. In some instances, I think it's safer than the U.S. because of the gun laws. Everyone in the U.S. seems to have gun laws, but Kenya does have crime, mostly property crimes, thefts, and things like that. But you can also run across some thefts of phones. They're big on phone snatching in the big cities, so you tell you to keep your phone away. There are also some violent crimes, but it's not near as much as it is in the West. So particularly in gated communities and expat-friendly areas like Nairobi, Karen, Kilimani, Lavington, and Rwanda, if you're in the Nairobi area. If you're in Nakuru, some of the recommended areas would be Section 58, Milimani, Kilimuni, and Barnabas. In Mombasa, I think Sarah's going to have to help me with some of these names.
We have Nyali, Bamburi, and Mtwapa.
Okay, those are some of the recommended areas that are relatively considered safe in these 3 central areas, Nairobi, Nakuru, and Mombasa. But you always want to be aware to take standard precautions no matter where you are around the world. You want to avoid walking alone at night in unfamiliar areas, and you want to use registered taxis and rideshare apps. Uber works well here. Your app in America will work fine here. You'll still see the driver, you'll see the car, you'll see the tag number. So you want to make sure to verify all that information before getting in any rideshare vehicle. All right? Let's take a look at our 4th question. What's our 4th question people are asking?
What kind of health care is available? And should I get international health insurance?
Mm-hmm. You excuse some of the background noise. We're at the business plaza, and we have a group of ladies meeting in our cafe for a fellowship, so you may hear a little background noise. I apologize for that. But the question again is, what kind of health care is available, and should I get international health insurance? Okay, so Kenya has private as well as public health care, and some of the recommended private hospitals in Nairobi would be Aga Khan,
Nairobi Hospital, and MP Shah.
Okay, and then Nakuru you will have
AIC, Kijabe, Clinic, Aga Khan. in Nakuru.
Okay, so there are 2 listed that we can tell you about in Nakuru. Now, if you're in Mombasa, there's also an Aga Khan facility there, as well as what? Mombasa Hospital.
Mombasa Hospital, Aga Khan
Okay.
Hospital, yeah.
All right, so you see there are public as well as private health care available. Healthcare is relatively inexpensive compared to American standards, but it is advisable to have international or regional private health insurance, as some public hospitals, may lack certain resources and the efficiencies that we may be used to in the West, but they have well-qualified doctors and medical staff, and again, the healthcare system is very affordable here. Even the insurance is affordable. You can also get that to take care of all your medical needs. All right, let's take a look at question number 5 that we have.
How easy is it to open a bank account or access financial services as a foreigner?
Okay, they're asking about can I open a bank account and how will I access financial services as a foreigner in Kenya?
Yeah.
Well, you can open a local bank account with 1 of 3 ways. You can have your U.S. passport. You can use what's called a KRA PIN, which is a Kenya Revenue Authority tax number they give you for doing business in Kenya. And you can also use your residency or work permit in order to open a local bank account. You would need a proof of address, of course. Now, in lieu of using a bank account, and I do this myself, I simply use the mobile banking app called M-Pesa, which is widely used and extremely efficient for all your daily transactions, receiving and sending money anywhere in Kenya. You would just need a passport, and they can set you up with a M-Pesa number, which means mobile banking here in Kenya, or mobile money. And I think that will be a better option for you, unless you just need to have a bank account to deposit funds and things like that nature for your business. But you can do all your personal as well as business transactions using M-Pesa. Did I answer that question all the way?
Yeah.
All right. What's the next question?
What are the housing options and average rental or purchase prices for expats?
Okay. All right. Asking about the cost of housing. Some of the housing options, they have apartments, they have standalone houses. So let's talk about some of the prices she asked about. Now, renting a 2 to 3 bedroom apartment can range anywhere from $30,000 upward $150,000 in the lush areas, depending on the location. So if you're in Nairobi, of course, you'll be spending more than what you will be spending in Nakuru or Kisumu. If you're buying land, we notice that home and land prices are going to vary widely according to your location. In the urban areas, you'll find that land can cost anywhere from 5 million shillings to 25 million plus. That's like in Nairobi, in the areas immediately surrounding Nairobi, which is the capital city. If you're looking in more rural areas, you can find land a lot cheaper, anywhere from 300,000 to 3 million Kenyan shillings. So, and also we may be recommended that you rent before buying in order to understand the market, to understand what the communities are like, and to make sure that that's an area that you want to be able to live in. All right, so that's some of the advice that we would give you about buying and renting land in Kenya. But you'll find the prices, again, a lot more affordable than what you would find back in the West, and particularly the U.S., where I'm from. All right, what's our next question, Sarah?
Is it possible to bring household goods, vehicles, or pets when relocating to Kenya? Okay,
that simple answer is yes. Kenya does allow household goods. They can be shipped duty-free if you're relocating under a work or retirement permit that I mentioned earlier. And vehicles are also allowed, but they are taxed heavily. The duty tax can be up to 25 to 50%. So, and also another stipulation is that vehicles must be under 8 years old. All right. Now, as far as pets are allowed with veterinary health certificate and rabies vaccination. Import permit from Kenya Department of Veterinary Services is required. So I would suggest you look at the Kenyan government websites for all the particular details. But yes, household goods can be shipped. Yes, vehicles can be shipped, as well as your pets, with the stipulations that I mentioned to you. But I would also recommend that you visit the Kenya government websites to get more detailed information about it. All right, question number 8, Sarah.
What are the best options for schools or homeschooling for families with children?
Okay, some people may relocating with children, and you want to know what are the best options. Well, there are many international schools all across Kenya. They are available in Nairobi, Mombasa, Kisumu, as well as Nakuru. Some examples would be Greensteads, Hillcrest, or Brookhouse. They use various curriculums. They use a British curriculum. Some use an American curriculum. Some use what's called an IB curriculum or a Kenyan curriculum. So there's a lot of options for you, both international schools as well as some of the public schools are available. Many foreigners seem to opt for the international school because most of the instruction is in English, where some of the public schools may be in English as well as Swahili. Homeschooling is also an option here in Kenya. Homeschooling is legal and is growing in popularity here. There are many support networks that are available in the major cities for parents to get support from other parents who are homeschooling their children, as well as for extracurricular activities so the children can have some of that social interaction as well. So there are a lot of great educational options for you and your children. All right, question number 9, Sarah?
How accessible are transportation options, public, private, or rideshare?
Okay, we kind of touched on this a little bit earlier. How accessible is transportation options? Well, they have public transport here. They have the little shared vans they call matatus. They have a little 3-wheel vehicle that's covered called tuk-tuks. And they have bodas, which are basically motorbikes that people use. Now, the matatus are inexpensive, but they can be crowded. The least expensive way is using the boda, if you don't mind getting on the back of a motorcycle and zooming through the Kenyan traffic. They also have private transport available. There are used cars that are widely available and affordable for rent. There are also driver services, companies that provide transportation services. We also do the same for those who are visiting the country in Nairobi. We can arrange for travel service that we have through Affordable African Horizons to take you to any part of Kenya, whether that's if you come into Nairobi, we can do transportation from the airport to and from. We can take you to the coast in Mombasa. Our service can take you to Nakuru or to Kisumu, whatever traveling needs you have. There are many travel services available to you in the private sector. Also, you have available the ride share, which is Uber. They have another one called Bolt and one called Faras or something like that here. Faras here. So if you're coming from America, if you have Uber on your phone, it works fine here too. Now, what I had to do with my phone, I used Verizon as my carrier back in the U.S. I just simply added an international calling plan, and my phone works perfectly here in Kenya, just as it does in America. I still have unlimited hours. My hotspot works. So you can do that depending on what carrier you have active. You can get an international calling plan, which will allow people to still call you in Kenya, and you can call back with no extra fees. You just use the roaming here, but there's no extra fees with the plan that I have from Verizon. But check with your carrier to make sure that you can find a plan that suits your needs. Okay? Now, one thing you're going to understand about the ride share, particularly convenient in major urban towns. They're even pretty convenient here in Nakuru as well, but the roads can be busy at times. You may run into what they call jams here. We call them traffic jams back home, but you may run into a lot of busy roads. The infrastructure is good in most places, especially in the big cities, but it's still not necessarily what we used to in the West in America, particularly when it comes to sidewalks and things like that. You may find a few challenges when it comes to that in the capital city of Nairobi. And when you get to the smaller towns, then the roads are usually not the better conditions. But in Nakuru, going into the town itself, the roads are good. Even in the outskirts of the town, the roads are relatively good. And of course, like in some parts of the rural America, you'll find dirt roads or marron roads, which are gravel roads. Where our mission base is in the village of Salai, once we get off what they call the tarmac road, which what we call in America the paved road, you get on a marron road, which is a gravel road. But in that area, the roads are very well maintained. Even in heavy rain, the roads are being maintained. So you won't run too much challenges with that, especially in the urban areas. You'll find pretty comparable roads as you would find back in America. All right, our 10th question that was asked, and we'll try to answer for you today, is what, Sarah?
What cultural, social, or lifestyle differences should I prepare for when moving to Kenya?
Okay. Of course, there will be some cultural, some social, and lifestyle differences. Kenyans are Africans. Africans have their own culture. They have their own language. They have their own way of socializing. They have their own lifestyle. But it won't be much of a challenge because the people are very kind, very polite, and very friendly. They are very social people. They love interacting, getting together, and doing what they call telling stories. Just laughing and sharing stories about life and laughing. So you'll find it not difficult at all to blend in with Kenya. Most Kenyans speak English very well, particularly the younger generations. They speak English very well. They teach it in all the schools. And most people here speak at least 3 languages. They speak English, they speak Swahili, which is another official language of Kenya, and they speak their mother tongue from their tribe. So you'll find some very friendly, fun-loving people here in Kenya, and you won't have any problem adjusting to the cultural, social, or lifestyle differences here. As I mentioned, they speak English and Swahili, which are 2 of the official languages of Kenya. And in most urban areas, everybody speaks English fluently. Not a problem. Now, the pace of life in Kenya is generally slower than it is in America or the West. It is more relaxed. Everybody's not in a rush to do everything. They have a little saying, pole pole. Some people complain, say if they tell you 1 o'clock, that means be ready at 3 o'clock. So that's Kenyan time. Sometimes in America, we said black folk time too. We saw that. But we have to be on what they call Muzungu time. That means you must be there at 7. Show up Muzungu time. That means be there at 7. So that's maybe something you may have to adjust to if you're coming from the West Coast. You're so used to things happening just like that. I've ran into a little frustrations with that when we first got here, when we were ordering furniture, and they promised they would be there in the morning. And I guess morning to me meant morning in Asia because they came that evening. But I've learned to adjust. Pole pole, Hakuna Matata, everything's well. So don't get yourself in such a rush here. And coming from the West, it's a refreshing change to have a more relaxed pace of life. One of the things you also learn about moving to Kenya is the community. As I mentioned earlier, people love being social, doing things as a group. You find the people warm, you find them hospitable. They're always greeting others with Swahili, with habari yako, and the person said Mzuri sana, and you said poor, I'm good. And I'm still working on my Swahili. I know just some of the basic greetings, and I still confuse them sometimes. For instance, a customary greeting when you see someone to say, hello, how are you doing, would be habari yako. If someone does something for you, you would say asante sana. I was confused when I first got here, and my wife is already laughing. I was greeting people with asante sana. Imagine, the people were wondering, what are you thanking me for? But for the most part, I figured out the basic greetings. But every now and then, I still find myself a little bit confused. So they do offer classes here, from what I understand. You can go to school. You can have teachers that teach you Swahili. I haven't done that yet, but I think eventually over time, just listening and interacting with people, I'll pick up most of the things. Cindy? Yes. Are you with me? Okay, so let me see. Make sure I've covered everything, Sarah. Look at your list and make sure that I've covered things. Also, oh yes, let me touch on this: religion and values. Uh, it's basically a Christian nation. There are Muslim people here too, but it's predominantly a Christian society. They have very traditional family values. Now, of course, things in Africa are also becoming like some places in America, as far as families, broken families, and things like that. But predominantly, people try to maintain traditional family values, husbands being the provider, wives being the caregivers, maintainers of the home, which is not a bad thing. So you can expect that here in Kenya. And one other thing you can expect is the tipping or bargaining. It's common here, and it's expected in the markets. You know, back home in the U.S., everything has a price tag on it. The price is non-negotiable. Whatever price is on the item is the price you're going to pay. So we know we don't do no bargaining back home. Here in Kenya, there's no price tags on anything. Some places, few rare exceptions, you may find prices on the item. And for what I understand, you can still bargain those prices even if it's on the item. So get used to that. And another thing I must say is that when you come and you are a foreigner, they use a term called mzungu, which basically means foreigner, or foreign-born person, a person not from Kenya. Some people think it means white. It doesn't matter. If you're a foreigner, I'm considered a mzungu in Africa. Even though, look at me and my wife, we're almost the same complexion and everything. But you know what makes me a mzungu here? Not my look, it's my voice. When they hear my American accent, prices immediately go up. So get used to that. Don't get offended. And of course, the American dollar has a lot of power here in Kenya, so I don't really get offended when they quote unquote mzungu tax me. It's no big deal. There's no need to get all upset about it. It's just the way it is here. And now I'm going to briefly touch on this. Now, the criminal justice system is not up to par what we would expect in America. Even though America has gone through a lot of police reform and still needs to go through some police reform. But for instance, one of the improvements in American policing is that officers have to wear body cameras now. In Kenya, that's not yet adopted, which I hope that they will adopt that sooner rather than later, because otherwise some of the same things that were happening in America without being on camera still happens here in Kenya. And the police try to explain it away. But the cameras help eliminate a lot of the integrity issues. You may be called on to pay a little money to someone in order to avoid a going to court situation. But other than that, if you're a law-abiding citizen, you're not causing any problems, you're going to enjoy your stay in Kenya. So those are some of the top 10 questions that we've been receiving about living in Kenya as a foreigner. If there are any other questions that we did not address, feel free to reach out to us by leaving a question in the comment section for this video. And again, I'll try to convert the Kenyan shilling prices to the USD prices for you to understand the cost of living for the housing and food, electricity, and things as such. But feel free to reach out to me, affordableafricanhorizons.com. We look forward to receiving those of you who are coming. We're excited about our mission trip that is scheduled for December 1st through the 15th. If you haven't already registered for that, go to the website, contact us. We can get you registered for that. And we'll be flying directly out of New York, direct flight on Kenya Airways, 14-hour flight from JFK to Nairobi, Jomo Kenyatta International Airport. Well, do you have anything else to touch on, Sarah, that I didn't touch on?
I think we've touched on everything.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
And like I said, if you have any questions that we did not address, feel free to reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to answer your questions for you. But in the meantime, we wish you a great and marvelous day. And we say, Kwaheri, Hakuna Matata, no worries. See you in Kenya. Karibuni, Karibu, Kenya. Ciao.